Yeah, and I see too also a bent towards nationalism. This has been going on globally, I would say, since the end
worldwide.
of the Cold War. Russia is a great example. I mean, Russia, the Bolshevik Revolution, a small kind of multi-ethnic coalition. They seize the government and they carry out basically decades of terror. But communism ends, at least in the USSR, when it disbands in '89. So you could consider Russia the first victim of globalism, communism, whatever you want to call it. They never really achieved full communism, but they were well on their way with socialism. '89, it collapses. In the 35 years or so that have followed that, Russia has become incredibly nationalistic. There's actually a document, I think it's by 2036, Russia intends that 90 to 95% of Russians, when asked what their identity is, that they would say Russians. They wouldn't say Yugoslavian or Slavic or this. They would identify with Russia. It'd be very similar if America said, our goal in imbuing our values in the people that live here is that by 2036, 95% of people living in America would say, I'm American. They wouldn't say I'm Asian American, I'm African American, that they would say American. So Russia, you can consider them having gotten the illness, the bug, the worst, the first, but then they're well on their way to being much more nationalistic, much more Christian. Abortion rates that were really high during the Soviet Union, those have fallen. And then other countries, they didn't undergo communism, for example, they're kind of falling into place. You see this with the rise of nationalism in Britain, here in the United States. But also in Iran, I think you see the people there, they're saying, who cares, like you said, about nukes on a global stage? We want to be able to eat. We want a monarch. We want to have pride. I mean, this used to be ancient Persia. These were a people that ruled vast amounts of land and they were wealthy. And Iran has been wealthy in its past. And the people are saying, give us Iran for Iranians. Like the religion, the Muslim, Christian pieces aside, even just nationalistically, the people are saying, we want a government that works for us. And they are far from an isolated case. And you can expect, as different countries fall in line, Russia kind of being the foremost of the world powers that are doing it, other small nations are going to kind of start to do the same thing. They're going to look and say their government works for them. Their government cares for them. I think of how Poland, the records of sexual assault compared to other Western European countries, it's fractions, an 80th of the amount, because they haven't let immigrants in.
That's right.
And so people are going to start looking and say, wait, their women aren't being assaulted by immigrants.
Right.
We want that for us. Yep. We want to be a nation with borders.
Poland is
all over the world. That's
is
happening.
Virtually entirely white.
Right.
So you're right. This is a worldwide phenomenon that we've been seeing for multiple years at this point. There's a full-on rejection of globalism, not so much from our elites, and not just elites in our country, but every single country. It's like the elites kind of push back. They're trying to maintain, the status quo, but it's a populist uprising in Hungary, in El Salvador, in America, and the populist uprising saying we want to return to nationalism, and the people willing to at least temporarily, and I'm not saying it actually would be temporary, but lend extraordinary powers to whatever populist leader could get elected in their national context to give them that kind of nationalism that puts their people first, right? If you're in Iran, right, it's Iran first. If you're in America, America first. And so everybody's basically looking at their nation and saying, our leaders don't care for us. They care for the bottom line, they care for the GDP, they care for this, that, and the other, but they don't actually care for our people. And there's a populist revolt in all these different places. And some of these leaders have been, to varying degrees, successful. I would say one of the most successful political leader right now in his country, where the people they were fed up and they put him in power, and he's actually been able to change the rule book, so to speak, is Bukele in El Salvador. He's got like 90% favorability, and was able to change the term limits. He's President Bukele, but functionally King Bukele. Right. And he is not super fond of Israel. He's a big component of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
Which has paid off huge for their government.
Which has paid off
tons
huge
of money
for the
into
government.
it.
And part of that is as an investment economically, but also part of it is even broader than that. It's to wean El Salvador, his nation, his people that he loves and wants to care for as a civil father, weaning them off of the centralized banking system and usury and exorbitant amounts of interest and these kinds of things. And cryptocurrency he sees as a viable solution that could achieve that, a betterment for his people. And so that's what we see right now to varying degrees. In America right now, I'll just be honest, and I think everybody feels this, El Salvador, they're like, the masses, the populace, the people, we're going to be behind Bukele to break a few eggs to make an omelet and clean up our country. El Salvador is for El Salvador. In America, same kind of thing. We're like, and we're going to, throw our weight behind Trump. And Trump is not Bukele.
No.
So Bukele did it for his people.
And they love him. He is one of the most,
no.
as far as approval ratings go, it's Vladimir Putin in Russia and President Bukele.
That's right.
96 to 97% approval rating. That is, imagine that here in the United States. Trump's approval rating, I think it's what, 40s, low 40s to 50s, divided. 350 million people, almost split it down the middle. Half the people love him, half the people hate him. You go to these countries, 95 out of 100 people, I love the president. I love what he's doing. He's doing a great job. Well, yeah, but he's rewriting the Constitution and taking power. Well, I don't care. I'm safe. I have a job that can feed my family. Who cares about a piece of paper if I'm sitting here? My life is so much better than it was 10 years ago. Nobody cares about that stuff. They want someone who fights for them.
It's the meme with two guys who are sitting on the curb, and a gun behind him. And he's like, well, at least we upheld the Constitution. And he shoots the first guy and is about to shoot the second. Like that's everybody, I think, is starting to instinctively get that. They're like, no, like the Constitution, I still maintain it's a beautiful document. The main failure of the Constitution is some of the latter amendments after the first 10. Beyond that, getting to authorial intent with the first. And beyond that, the main failure, in my mind, my purview of the founders is that they were not explicit in naming the Lord Jesus Christ as King of these United States. And so adopting a preamble of the Apostles' Creed or something like that. Other than that, I like the Constitution, but here's what people are recognizing. We can't just Constitution even harder. You can vote your way into some of these messes, but as the old adage goes, someone typically has to shoot their way out. That's just the way that it goes. And so I said it a while back on Twitter. I'll say it again here, but it was a short tweet, got a lot of attention because it resonated with the people in America. I said, we have to recognize, even if we love the Constitution was written for a country that no longer exists. The Constitution was written for a country that no longer exists. And that's what we're starting to experience. That's what they've experienced in El Salvador, in Hungary, in Russia, all these different places. To some degree, Argentina. He's done a good job, but he's also kind of a lib. Libertarianism is not viable long term.
Right.
Leave me alone. The side that wants to be left alone will always lose to the side that wants to win. And so I think there will be problems that they will face in terms of longevity. But that's what people are also feeling in America. And they thought that Trump was going to be that guy. I mean, he literally tweeted out. I remember I was stoked. I was like, babe, wake up.
It's happening.
Trump is Napoleon posting, right? We all remember on X where he posted, he was quoting Napoleon. And he said, he who saves his country violates no law. And I was like, we're back. We're back. And then shortly after, I got in the mail my Fell For It Again badge. And I had to put it up on the wall along with all the other ones. I think Trump in some ways has been a precursor. I'm grateful for some of the things he's done, but he is not Bukele. He is not the king. He is not... he's not going to be the guy who saves the country. He is not, because he has made it explicitly clear by this point, he is not willing to do what it takes. He's not willing to cross the Rubicon. And he only has, it's not like, oh, well, he still has 3 years. He has months until the midterms where he becomes effectively a lame duck president. And that's where we're at. But in terms of the future, looking beyond Trump, and that's how people have to be. MAGA is dead. MAGA's done. It's America first. And the question is, who are going to be the front runners? Who is going to come and fill that space? You got guys like Thomas Massey. You got Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm grateful for her, but personally, I don't want a blonde woman leading the charge. I'd like to see her at home. I think she's a sweet woman. She didn't betray her people. God bless Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'll say that 100%. God bless her. She's not a raging Zionist. I do, just on principle, though, I would like to visit her house and have tea together and have a wonderful conversation and bring
maybe
my wife
some pie.
But I don't, just on principle, it needs to be Christian men. It needs to be Christian men. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but my point, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, you got Nick Fuentes, not as a politician, but as a voice. And now you're seeing, even at local levels, state levels, guys like James Fishback, guys like Casey Putz. Is that how you say
Push,
it?
I think.
Push. It's Putschch. Yes, SCH, Putschch. And so, can I just Can I unveil?
Do
can
it.
I announce?
Do it.
All right. So next Monday, we have James Fishback coming on the show. And next Friday, we have Casey running for Ohio to try to beat out Vivek coming on the show. In XR, we're not playing around. We're going to be bringing you real politicians running real races that actually have a real shot. I'm not saying it's in the bag. It's going to be tough. Those guys are going to have to work hard because they're working against incumbents that have the MAGA endorsement from Trump.
The Trump endorsement, which is working against our interests right now.
Exactly. And that's what we have to realize. You can be grateful. Praise God for Trump. He animated, right? An entire generation. America first. From now on, only America first. Praise God. And that's great. And he did some good things. Appointing judges. I'm grateful for that. And the overturning of Roe and these kinds of things. We can be forever grateful for that. But we have to recognize, just like Israel, they're like, man, Saul did some really great things. Okay, but the Spirit of God is with David now.
Right.
The Spirit of God is not with Saul. Saul did some good things, but then at a certain point, Saul, as Samuel, the prophet said, you were once small in your own eyes, but now you think you're a big deal. And so Saul was used by the Lord in humility to do incredible things, and Israel can always forever be grateful for how the Lord used Saul. But at a certain point, he was no longer small in his own eyes, and he actually became a hindrance rather than a help to the furtherment and the betterment of Israel. And the Spirit left Saul, the Spirit of the Lord, and was with this little shepherd boy that nobody thought, like this guy, who, like, I'll be honest, when I look at Trump and I look at Nick, it kind of... I see Saul and David, and one of the, if you've ever read 48, I forget the exact title, but 48 rules,
Laws of Power.
Laws of Power. One of them is don't ever be bigger than the current guy who's the top guy, right? And that's literally what happened with David and Saul. Is they come back and Saul's like, all right, I appreciate David. He's my right hand guy. He just killed Goliath for us. This is awesome. Let's honor David. But then he comes back and hears the people and they're singing. The women are dancing in the streets and singing. Saul, we like that guy. He's good. He killed his thousands, but David, his tens of thousands. And right now there's kind of the whispers. You can feel it in the ground and the populace. It's like MAGA killed its thousands, but America first, its tens of thousands. Trump, his thousands, but Nick, his tens of thousands. And so Trump has a choice, and it feels like he's kind of already made it. We'll always leave out hope. We'll pray for him. And again, we can honor him. But it doesn't seem like he's going to be the guy. He's not willing to cross the Rubicon like Bukele did, like some other leaders are doing. But that's the global phenomenon right now, is a move away from global secularism, gay race communism, and moving back to nationalism. The people saying, I want my leaders to be from me, a civil father that nurtures his own citizens. And the guys who are willing to do it are beloved, 96, 97% approval ratings. And the guys who aren't willing to do it, it's not just that Trump was always, in the low 40s with his, when he came in initially in this second term, just a few months, it wasn't even that long ago, just a few months back, like 8-9 months back, Trump was doing well. He was polling well.
I think it was in the 60s at its peak, low 60s.
And he has dropped
approval.
Significantly. And with young men particularly,
because they went left.
Plummeted. Oh, because those young men became Democrats.
Yeah.
No, because they are far to the right of Donald Trump. And so that's what's going on. And the point is to cover the news, because this is a big global story. But beyond just the news, it's to show that if you don't think the global return to nationalism is just that global, well, it's not just El Salvador, it's not just Hungary, it's not just Russia, it's not just America trying, but we've got the neocons in the way, aka now MAGA in the way. It's not just that. If you need an argument from the lesser to the greater, Iran, it's happening there also. Yeah. Their people are saying nationalism, care about us, play nice with the rest of the world, but mostly just stop it. Just untangle yourself from the rest of the world. Stop the nuke program. Stop this. Transport the oil, and Iran needs to be for Iran.
Yeah, and I just want to make 2 points with respect to nationalism and the rise of nationalism and why that's good. One, on the geopolitical front. So if you just think about economics, right? You think about game theory. When you have a nation that is for the nation, it's for the people of the nation, and it's actually much easier to deal with that nation because you actually have a very clear picture of their history, a clear picture of their interest in sort of the geography of where they're at, that and sort of the different threats and the things that are going on in the nation. So nationalism's good with respect to America's relations with other nations. We should strive to be at peace with all men. We should strive to be at peace with all nations. And so when we see it, this fervor, this nationalistic fervor rising in nations, we should, as Christians, more or less support that nation be for that nation.
Yes.
But the second point is, and we're not making the argument, by the way, that this nationalism is a Christian nationalism in Iran. I think that would be too far to say. But what we can say is we just think about Christ winning the nations. It is easier to win a nation under a system of nationalism. It's easier to preach the gospel under a system of nationalism than it would be, for example, under an Islamic state, an Islamic regime. And so even if
or
we
global
think,
globalism like
right.
China. Christianity is having a tough time catching on there because it's just a big manufacturing hub with not a lot of groundedness and rootedness. It's work, it's provide services to all the rest of the world for pennies on the dollar. Here's your tiny wage. It's tough for Christianity to catch on there. We're seeing that.
Yeah, and so if you even just think about the different options that are at play, one option is to go the route of globalism. It's to partner with Israel to be actively undermining the regime, to topple it and put in another
actively
puppet.
undermining local governments with their own people.
Right.
Not a good look.
And so that's the sort of the pressure from the side of Israel that we can feel, which is, hey, let's go in and just force our hand onto this nation. And that we know that. We've seen that playbook 5-6 times in the last 70 years. That doesn't work. But there's another option. What if there was a third option? So the third option is we actually step back. We step back and allow this nationalistic fervor. We allow the actual comings and goings within a nation and their concerns economically, religiously, all of those things play out. And the foundation that comes from that is one that we can actually work with. We can work with as just a nation that wants to be hospitable, a nation that wants to be in good relations with other nations, but we can also work with that as Christians.
Right.
And that's the key point here is because we do care about Iranian Christians. We don't want them here per se, but we do care about them, and we want them to have a life where they can live and worship Christ in a context where they're safe and where they can actually do the leverage evangelism to spread the gospel. And that has to happen within the nation. America, it is not our place, nor are we particularly good at doing that ourselves.
Right.
And so it all comes back to this idea of, well, what should America do? Right now, we can see Trump is actually making the threats toward this like globalistic, Israel first sort of ideology to say, no, we actually are going to get involved. We're going to change the regime, not for us per se, although maybe there's some kickbacks with respect to oil and those sorts of things, but for Israel's sake. And that just, it's not going to work. And so all that to say, Iran isn't a Christian nation. We're not making an argument that these protests and these demonstrations aren't necessarily just liberal secularism dressed differently, because in all likelihood, that's what they are.
Yeah.
But we can make the point that for better or for worse, that happening is good for the nation in that the people are actually going to be reflected in power rather than this Islamic state top down, forcing the gospel out, punishing Christians for speaking the truth, those sorts of things.